Hey everyone, Castellan here, back at long last with another Streetscape Tour. Today, we're looking at the most colorful block in my town, and at the heart of that block is my newest modular MOC, the radio station. Specifically, the home of 103.5 KBRK, broadcasting awesome rock and local news for your Lego City. Well, at least for my Lego City. Now, as usual, I'll start off this tour by talking about the design criteria I had for this building. For those of you who are new to my videos, the design criteria is just a fancy way of saying what was I trying to accomplish with this project and how was I trying to accomplish it. To start with, I needed this building to be a half plate in width. I needed that because I have a building that is a plate and a half of width, and I needed this just to even out the block. Next, I wanted to use a new color for this building. A new color, meaning a color that wasn't available when I was building as a kid back in the mid-90s. This time, that new color just happened to be purple. And for once, it actually kind of works. In fact, it makes the colors next to it look even better. For once, the neon green and neon blue of my daycare center don't look like an eyesore. Unfortunately, there aren't many purple pieces available, as you can find out just by looking at Pick-a-Brick, so that kind of limited the way I was able to use it. Finally, I knew when I started this building that I wanted it to be a radio station, and I knew I wanted it to have that sign. That sign, with that specific lettering, being 5 studs wide, dictated a lot of the pattern of the facade of the building. Specifically, the fact that you start off with 1 brick of trim, 8 studs of window, another stud of trim, 5 studs for that sign, and then one final stud of trim again. Speaking of that sign, this seems like a good place to talk about that style of lettering. I'm sure people have done it before, but it was new to me. I first fiddled around with it when I built a sign that said HVAC, and the lettering looked really good on that sign. Unfortunately, I never got around to building a building for an HVAC company. And the KBRK doesn't quite look as good as those letters. Anyway, the sign is built separately from the wall, and I originally thought that I might actually be able to have it stick out from the wall, basically be perpendicular to the sidewalk. Unfortunately, if you do that, it looks right from one direction, but it would be backwards on another direction, and I just sort of scrapped that idea. And now we'll hop off the tripod for a quick view of the first floor. As you can see, it's got your typical modular storefront and sidewalk. We do have a little spot for some greenery and some flowers in front of the main windows. Probably the most interesting part of the front of the building is that I managed to get the door centered in that 5-stud space. I did that by using some jumper panels at the bottom and then again at the top, and I really like the effect. Of course, one side effect of using the jumper panels to move the door 1 stud sideways and having the door at the edge of the building is that you do have a goofy gap at the side of the building. But, fortunately, this is usually covered up by the modular building next to this building. Moving inside of the building, we see that the ground floor is just the lobby, and it's pretty plain with only the typical lobby stuff. Front desk with a little raised area for guests to write on, a back desk with some drawers, a computer and other stuff, just some random band paraphernalia, and some newspaper clippings and other random stuff on the other wall. Lastly, at the back of the lobby, we do have an elevator, because I'm kind of a stickler for having an actual way for minifigures to get from point A to point B. It's a pretty basic elevator, but it is actually functional. Sort of. And now we jump up to the second floor for one of the critical rooms in any radio station, the actual radio DJ room. So for starters, the second floor is divided into 2 halves. One half is the hallway that obviously comes off the elevator, and the other into the actual recording booth. So, in the hallway, we of course have the door to the elevator at one end of the hall. In the hall proper, we've got some glass windows into the recording booth studio. We also have a red light, indicating, of course, that recording is underway. And at the end of the hall, we have the techies station, with computers and soundboards and whatever else he needs to make sure the broadcast goes off without a hitch. Inside the recording booth, we've got a couple more details, including some custom-built microphones and stands, which I'm kind of proud of. On the wall, we've got some soundproof boards just to keep any echoes and whatever else off. You know, the sort of things you hear on videos like mine. And then we also have a lot and lots of computers and various monitors for the DJ to use while on the air. It's also worth pointing out that this recording booth has a second booth, so that the on-air radio's on-air personality can interview a guest. As you can see, today's interview is with one of the city's many, many, many police officers. He's clearly being asked about the decades-long crime wave that has gripped my and most other Lego cities. Seems like no matter how many police there are still just as many criminals. Crime is still rampant, jailbreaks are an everyday occurrence, and criminals are unafraid of brazenly wearing their prison jumpsuits on the streets. And just to hammer home the points about the decades-long crime wave, here's what's happening right next door while the interview is still going on. And now we jump to the third floor, where we come to a room that's even more important to a radio station than the room we just covered below, the heart of any true rock radio station, the recording studio. And just like below, this floor is divided into two segments. The divider is placed differently this time, just to give ourselves a different aspect ratio for the recording booth. Outside the booth, we have once again the techie station, with a wall of computers, soundboards, and whatever else you need to run a recording studio. And then, on the other side of these soundproof glass walls, we have the recording studio proper. And within that studio, we are in the midst of a KBRK exclusive, a live recording from a band that represents a new dimension of rock and roll, the one, the only, Dragon Sound. Yes, this karate rock band is setting the world on fire with their unique mix of songs about friendship and fighting ninjas. If there are two themes that are more Lego-like than those, I have yet to hear it. And with that, we come to the roof of the building. We can start out by looking at the parapets, where you can see I added a few more goofy details than I do for my normal parapets, but it's still a very basic rooftop. We do have an access hatch that leads into the hallway below. And of course, we have the primary surface feature of the radio station, the radio tower, which it uses to broadcast everything that's being recorded to the city around it. I tried to make the broadcast tower look crowded and kind of haphazard, but I didn't really go all out with it. By that point, I was done. And there you have it, a full review of my latest modular MOC, the KBRK radio station. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button, hit whatever button YouTube wants you to hit. But most importantly, leave me a comment, and let me know exactly what you thought. If you did like what you see, you can always check out my other videos right here on this channel. Until then, I will see you next time. Bye.